The story of a kingdom is written not in ink, but in blood, on fields where brother turns against brother, and the crown is the only prize worth dying for. On Palm Sunday, 1461, amidst the desolate, snow-swept fields of Yorkshire, England would witness the brutal climax of this dynastic struggle. This was the Wars of the Roses, a savage civil war that pitted the House of Lancaster against the House of York. Here, on a day meant for peace, the fate of the English throne would be decided in the most savage and bloody battle ever fought on English soil. This is the story of the Battle of Towton. The conflict was a clash of kings and commanders, a personal vendetta played out on a national stage. On one side stood the young, charismatic, and ferociously ambitious Edward, Earl of March, soon to be King Edward IV. Barely 19 years old, he was a giant of a man, a formidable warrior determined to avenge his father's death and seize the crown for the House of York. Opposing him was the seasoned Lancastrian commander, Henry Beaufort, the Duke of Somerset. A veteran of countless campaigns and a staunch loyalist to the weak King Henry VI, Somerset was a hardened and experienced general, entrusted with commanding the largest army Lancaster had ever assembled. For both men, this was not merely a battle, it was a final, desperate gamble for absolute power, where defeat meant not just disgrace, but certain death. As dawn broke on March 29th, a blinding blizzard swept across the plateau between the villages of Towton and Saxton. The air was thick with driving snow, a swirling white curtain that reduced visibility to mere yards. Through this maelstrom, two massive armies, numbering perhaps 50,000 men in total, prepared for slaughter. The Yorkist archers, under the command of the shrewd Lord Fauconberg, unleashed the first volleys. With the wind at their backs, their arrows flew further into the Lancastrian ranks, unseen until they struck home. The Lancastrians, blinded by the snowstorm and fighting against the gale, returned fire, their own arrows falling short and uselessly into the frozen ground, a deadly miscalculation that cost them dearly before the real fight had even begun. Enraged and goaded into action, the vast Lancastrian force charged forward into the blizzard, and the battle dissolved into a chaotic, brutal melee. The next 10 hours were a vision of hell on earth. It was a relentless, grinding struggle of hand-to-hand combat, a terrifying press of bodies where men fought not for tactics or glory, but for survival. Swords hacked at steel plate, pole axes crushed helmets, and daggers found gaps in armor. The deafening roar of battle, the clash of metal, and the screams of the wounded and dying were muffled by the relentless snowfall. In the churned mud and blood-soaked snow, soldiers slipped and fell, only to be trampled underfoot by the surging lines of men behind them. As the day wore on, the arrival of fresh Yorkist reinforcements finally broke the Lancastrian line. What began as a retreat quickly turned into a panicked rout. Thousands fled towards the River Cock, a small stream now swollen into a raging torrent by the melting snow. In their desperation, the fleeing soldiers created a bridge of their own bodies. As men fell and drowned, their comrades trampling over them to escape the pursuing Yorkists, who offered no quarter. The river, it was said, ran red with blood for miles. When silence finally fell upon the field, the snow-covered landscape was a graveyard. An estimated 28,000 men lay dead or dying, nearly 1% of England's entire population at the time, their bodies left to the crows. Edward IV was king, but his throne was built upon a mountain of corpses. The Battle of Towton remains a chilling testament to the true cost of a crown, a somber and brutal scar on the soul of a nation, never to be forgotten. The sky wept. A cold, persistent drizzle turned the vast field into a sea of mud, each step a struggle against the grasping earth. Across this desolate stage, two great hosts prepared to collide. Horns low and mournful bellowed a final defiant challenge. Then, with a roar that seemed to tear the very fabric of the heavens, the charge began. At the forefront, a wedge of heavy cavalry, lances lowered like a forest of steel, churned the ground into a frenzy. Banners of crimson and gold snapped violently in the wind, a fleeting splash of color against the overwhelming gray. The ground trembled as thousands of armored boots followed, a relentless tide of men in iron surging forward to meet their fate in the heart of the storm. The initial impact was a cataclysm of shattered wood and screaming metal. The cavalry charge slammed into the opposing shield wall, a thunderous crash that echoed across the valley. Lances splintered against oak and iron, horses reared and fell, and men were thrown into the churning chaos. This was no longer a battle of grand strategy, but a desperate, brutal struggle for survival. The main battle lines met in a deafening roar, a chaotic press of bodies where every inch of ground was bought with blood. Swords rose and fell, hacking at helms and mail. Axes crunched through shields, their heavy blows sending splinters flying. Men grunted and screamed, their faces contorted in masks of fury and pain. The air grew thick with the coppery tang of blood and the acrid smell of sweat. A suffocating brew that choked the lungs and clouded the mind. It was a maelstrom of close-quarters savagery, a world reduced to the man in front of you and the desperate need to strike him down before he did the same. For hours the line held, a gruesome stalemate of attrition. But war is a game of moments, and this one arrived not with a heroic charge, but with a cunning, desperate gamble. On the right flank, hidden by a small copse of woods, a reserve force of spearmen had been waiting. At the sound of a single sharp horn blast, they burst from the tree line, charging not at the front but at the vulnerable side of the enemy's formation. The surprise was absolute. The flanking force tore into the enemy's rear ranks, creating a wave of panic and confusion. Cries of treason and "we are flanked" spread like wildfire. The once unbreakable shield wall, now assailed from two directions, began to buckle. A key standard bearer, a giant of a man who had been a rallying point for his comrades, was struck down by a stray arrow. His banner, a proud white falcon, dipped and then vanished into the mud. With their leader and their symbol gone, the will to fight broke, and the retreat became a rout. As dusk settled, a profound quiet fell over the field, broken only by the mournful cries of the wounded and the croaking of crows. The drizzle had ceased, and the setting sun cast long, somber shadows over the aftermath. The victors, battered and bloodied, moved like ghosts among the fallen, their faces grim, stripped of the battle's earlier fury. There was no grand celebration, only a weary, hollow relief. They tended to their wounded, gathered their dead, and stripped the enemy corpses of anything valuable. The ground, once a field of green, was now a grotesque tapestry of mud, steel, and bodies.